The Air Service's declassified final report, dated October 3517. You are listening now to the gondola voice recorder of the airship Indomitable. Run program.
Ping coordinates again, please, Mr. Edwards.
Aye. Pinging now.
Helm, 1/3 speed. Prep for silent running. Bring her south-southwest along the beam. Slipstream.
Aye. Cavitation to 300 RPM.
Weatherman, report.
Winds out north-northwest at 10 knots. 20-mile front. Barometer dropping rapidly. Sir, we're in for some real chop against this one.
Advise.
Suggest we climb to 10. Level off and anchor. Let the storm roll under us, Captain.
Snow now here. Echo return. Confirmed. Mr. Singleton, we have it.
These are the best soundings in 25 days, Captain. Signal strength excellent, beyond the scope.
Electrical?
Strike's increasing, Captain. Critical level in 12 minutes.
Request descent before the storm makes our position, Captain.
Agreed. Helm, take her down. Descent 1/3, 15 down angle on the planes.
Aye. 15 degrees down angle.
We might just make it. Let's see if we can't anchor before it hits, eh, Mr. Singleton?
Thank you, Captain. Edwards and I will proceed to station and prepare for search evac.
Gust at 45 miles per hour. Confirmed 7 strikes at 3 miles out.
Acknowledged. Compressed ballast in tanks 4 and 6.
Aye, Captain.
This is the closest we've ever been to readings like this. I can feel it, Tommy.
The Graphicon depression signature was gigantic. Galen, this is it, man. We found it.
Wait, that wasn't lightning.
All hands to battle stations. All hands, battle stations.
Not again. Tommy, prep for evac. I've got to get topside to the bubble. If I know Latham, he'll put up a fight.
Galen,
That's why
wait.
I hired him.
That first shot was not a greeting, Captain.
This is a scientific research vessel. I am Captain Johansson. To whom am I addressing?
Come now, Captain. There's no need for formalities out here. I'm the commander of the Adamant. You will heave to or I will destroy your ship.
Helm, open hangar doors. Prep bi-wing release.
Captain, we've lost rudder control. Sir, she won't budge.
This is Singleton, Captain. Observation bubble.
Report.
They hit us from directly above. Stealth ship. Rapid descent.
Report to hangar deck, Mr. Singleton. You can slip away in the Mosquito. I'll deal with these cutthroats.
No, Captain. I can help.
Galen, you paid for my silence back home. Out here, my ship comes first.
Sir, I won't leave.
I can best this thief and get the crew off. Get to the hangar deck. That's an order.
Perhaps I hadn't made it quite clear enough, Captain. I'm not waiting.
Helm, prepare for explosive decompression in tanks 5 through 12. 30-degree up angle on the planes. Fire deck. Open starboard doors and bring tubes to bear. Range 200.
Captain, stern crew.
Little busy here, Lieutenant.
Fire in the tail section, sir. We sealed off the cells, but they're leaking gas like a stuck baleen fish. She's finished, Captain.
Not if I can help it, Lieutenant. Waist gunner, set starboard guns to full pressure. All hands, hold on to your lunge. Mr. Davers, put us on the ceiling.
Aboard the Adamant, the first officer shouted.
They're coming up at us, Commander. What? 60 feet per. They'll ram us in 7 seconds, sir.
Starboard roll critical. Execute now, now, now.
Back aboard the Indomitable.
Gunners, fire!
The airship Adamant rolled to starboard, just far enough away from Indomitable. 6 backbreaker missiles burst from their tubes and overshot Indomitable. Aboard the Adamant, the commander ordered countermeasures.
Port waist gunners, target engines and fire.
Singleton returned to his cabin with Edwards.
I've written all you need. Coordinates, everything. You'll have our position in case one of us doesn't get through.
Galen, we've come too far. If we need to, I can negotiate with our commander. We can switch allegiance.
Look, those guys aren't your run-of-the-mill airmen. They want the ARC-TOS device, and they're coming to get it. Otherwise, we'd be dead already.
Then I'm gonna drop the device out the tail deck with a beacon attached.
I didn't bring it! I didn't bring it. I wasn't about to risk losing it without knowing the city's here.
But we agreed you'd have it here.
Tommy, the engines are on fire. There's a slight chance we can escape from the hangar deck, if that. Besides, I recognize that commander's voice.
Ripper teams to forward gondola. Gentlemen, we're about to be boarded. I'll keep her aloft as long as possible. You are the finest crew any captain could be honored to fly with.
They just never believe me. Crewmen, extend umbilical.
Singleton and Edwards split up just in case. They'd have to take their chances in the Mosquito. Singleton wanted to stay, help get the crew off. It was the least he could do to warn them on the way. It slowed him down, but gave Edwards a chance to make it to the hangar deck. Bounding down the catwalk, he stepped through a hatchway to the crew quarters and...
Hold your fire! That's Mr. Singleton. Sorry, sir.
How many are you, crewmen?
All of us, Mr. Singleton. The entire crew. What's left, anyway?
We're not gonna win this one, gents. Get to the drop cables, and just before they hard deck, blow ballast for lift. She's not on fire, we can all make it.
Not leaving without a fight, sir. We can take them.
You'll have to scatter rearward, then that way.
The boys are fighting the fire in the stern, sir. Not much point.
Then get a grappler crew up to the starboard missile deck. You can use Adamant's buoyancy for soft descent. Do not let them release that umbilical.
Meanwhile, aboard the airship Adamant...
Bi-wing pilot, meet me on the hangar deck. Prep for eject. Bridge crew, release umbilical.
But sir!
She's on fire, fool. And when that piece of junk goes down, she's taking us with it. What we want, gentlemen, will be on their escape wing.
It's madness to attempt to fly in this soup, sir.
Then you're welcome to a fine aerial discharge on our return. Otherwise, set for wing release on my command.
Sir, our men on the Indomitable.
I'd gotten to the hangar deck, but no sign of Edwards. I heard shots from amidships. I should have been there. I'd hoped their pneumatics would run out, but it didn't matter. We were finished. In the cockpit, I primed the booster and heard the hatch open. I told Edwards to grab a flight suit, but it wasn't Edwards.
Freeze!
I ducked down in the cockpit, pulled the release bar. The Mosquito fell away. I hoped the men could make it. At this range, the grappler crew couldn't miss. They'd bury him deep.
Fire, boys! Fire!
They were the bravest men I've ever flown with. I drop-kicked the Mosquito into a 5,000-foot suicide dive with the engines on fire. Shots must have hit the feeder tubes. I ran, a cowardly run from the carnage. They let me go, too. All those crewmen, all my friends, they risked their lives to save mine. There was no way to know how far I'd get. The signal flare wouldn't have attracted much attention anyway, and the wireless had a clean hole through it. For all I knew, someone would find my wreckage someday, my hand forever gripping the stick, what I deserved out there, above the Timberline.
6 months later, 1,500 years of snow leaves terrain filled with snowstacks and crevices that appear out of nowhere.
June 3518. I've been steaming for 3 days, just me and the 2 Falcons. They say the waste is easy to get in, risky to get out. It wasn't long before I was getting the wing of this snow tracker, and getting a bit cocky about it. For the love of small fevers, I near lost control avoiding an ice pillar, and startled a herd of rhino just behind it. I oversteered again, rocked the whole rig up onto the opposite track. That really spooked them, and they closed at full gallop on either fender. I punched the servo tank, but the rhinos gained on my right rear quarter panel. I stood on the pedal and gained enough steam to clear one beast's head, but not the other one.
The crazy thing dipped its horn, drove it up into the rear track panel, bashed it in. Wesley twisted the tracker through a field of ice chunks before catching air over a small dune. It landed hard, tipped sideways again, and a crate burst out of the side panel, tossing supplies across the ice.
Galen Singleton was lost this time. Seriously lost. Not as if he hadn't gone missing on other expeditions, though somehow he always made it back. But this time it doesn't look good. Not even for him. You know, this whole thing, the whole rescue effort, would be easier if I hadn't learned to hate him so much. I'm Wesley Singleton, and I'm his son.
Days later, Wesley has encountered people of the Waste, the Tucklin, who remain suspicious of anyone from the outposts. He's taken captive, his machine commandeered. When he realizes nothing good can come of this, he makes his escape. But Wesley Singleton is about to meet new traveling companions.
I awoke, my cheek swollen and my back in pain. If I didn't find a way out of here, I was destined for a crevice drop. One happy thought, they'd missed my boot blade. I cut a slit in the back of the tent and headed for the outrigger.
As Wes came around the side of his machine, a tribesman rummaged through a compartment, pulling things out.
I felt violated. I tackled him into the snow, laced a punch to his temple.
The tribesman dodged the stroke and took the feet out from under Wes. Seconds away from bashing his brains in, Athena dived, her huge talons extended. Athena hit the back of his head. When he staggered back, Wes sprung forward, had him by the throat.
In the struggle, his hood came loose and I hesitated. Soft features, skin like shanna cloth, reflected moonlight, eyes dark and gracious.
She whipped snow into his stunned face. Wes shook it off, got his hand clamped over her mouth. In a moment, she went slack, motioned with her head she wouldn't speak.
If you cry out, I'll...
She struck the back of his hand with her thumb knuckle. He let go involuntarily from the pain. She caught it and jammed his thumb against the socket, held it firm.
I stifled a cry into my sleeve. She had total control, astonishing strength. She leaned forward and whispered.
And if you cry out, I'll leave you here.
I shook my head. She spoke again.
Your machine would wake the dead, and you have no idea how to drive a cutter.
I'm a pilot. A fast learner.
Not fast enough. They have, what you call them? Guns. On your feet, pilot.
I always travel alone.
She nodded to a cutter.
Not anymore.
I slid my snow knife in my harness, stuffed my pack with rough cake rounds, grabbed my compass. Irritated, I'd lost my rifle, the Winslow.
She slipped from cutter to cutter and sliced the guidelines from the sails. That would give them time. She chose one to use, unfurled the sail. It whipped open, full of wind, and the cutter bucked against the anchor. It was the leader's cutter, Solon Kai. Wesley rolled into the cutter. She yanked the ground spike. Tribesmen poured from the tents.
Where do you think you're taking us?
Away?
I gather that. Where's away?
Far away.
Shots passed through the sails as she brought the cutter to glide speed. His messenger falcon, Athena, beat hard to keep up.
You always avoid straight questions?
She glared at him, nearly knocked him out of the cutter when she shifted the boom.
I avoid the rounds. Maybe you duck better, pilot. I cannot sail between them.
They sailed flat out for 2 hours before she motioned him to the tiller. At that point, there were no longer any ice stacks to avoid, only a barren plain ahead of them.
She'd made it easy for me. The sound of the blades was the only thing that filled the silence. Made it more obvious we weren't talking. It was maybe an hour later that I could feel the tiller wobble. It kept getting worse. My eye traced the sail lines hit from the rounds, and the line snapped in my hand. The front blade buckled under and flipped us out of the cutter. My earlier bruises were feeling lonely anyway. But then, I suppose there are far worse fates than walking too far away.
Meanwhile, back at the Tucklin camp, Solon Kai prepared for a more important meeting, one that would provide his people with a greater element of risk, yet a far better payoff. But before the Snow Dog leader ascended the ramp, a runner intercepted him.
Kai-chan, Linnea's missing. She was with the pilot.
You see, Solon Kai? The pilot gets away. Why won't you pursue?
Relax, Mock. When the westerlies die down, we'll pick them up.
We waste time. The old man might find them first.
I have my reasons, and your challenge does not go without reprise.
Rayburn Wilkes, commander of the Black Hawk N-78 stealth ship, steps into the hatchway.
Solon Kai, leader of the 12 tribes. We've lost signal from Singleton's beacon.
There's been a complication, Rayburn Wilkes.
You planted the beacon as agreed, yes?
As agreed, only he left his machine behind and took a Keter without one.
How do you suppose I follow him without a beacon?
I agreed to track him, not use your machines.
Then how do you plan to rectify this, Solon Kai?
Leave that to me. I want him for other purposes. Our agreement is sustained.
I need the device, and I need to know where he's headed with it. I remind you I'm paying you handsomely. Or perhaps we should reevaluate our agreement.
Why did you do that?
Well, me? You hand me broken lines and blame it on me.
Ugh, you know nothing of cutters.
They walked all night, crossed a timberline of breakstone pine, 1,500 years old, the wood as dense as ice.
I found the Winslow in Solon Kai's rig, slung across my back. It pulled and tugged over my bruised kidneys, so my pace slowed to a meditative stride, watching my feet clump through the snow for hours. My nose hairs froze from each in-breath, and my legs burned like pressure stokers. I had to rest. I can just see the headlines now.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Explorer's son lost in waste on desperate rescue mission.
Oh, brilliant. Morning broke with more silence from my snow dog friend. At one point, we stopped and stretched. I grabbed my canteen. You want some water?
His new friend stared at him with dark brown eyes, then snatched the canteen and took a long pull, handed it back.
One gets so very thirsty in the ice desert. So very thirsty.
The snow dog reached inside her coat, took a long draught from her own container, then smiled.
Hey. Whatever.
He might be a little new, this guy, but he's got awfully cute eyes.
I took a long draft from my canteen, too. When I brought my head down again, I spotted them.
They were 100 yards out and closing fast. His friend looked perturbed.
Typical. You brought them with you.
Oh, so now you're gonna talk, and then you blame this on me.
How else do you think they know we are here? They smell for a living.
Wesley pulled the Winslow from its sheath, ram-charged the front chamber with the crank. That would give him 30 extra yards.
You have a weapon?
Do I look like I have a weapon? Like that? I just have a snow knife.
Then circle up.
Wesley racked around and lowered the pipper on the lead beast, hoping to destroy their cohesiveness with one shot. But he missed and hit the animal to its right.
1 down, 10 to go. There's no way I'm dying in a snow hole shredded by leopards.
He'd overcompensated and drove the next shot into the snow in front of the lead cat. It didn't even blink.
I waited. My trigger finger trembled. I was transfixed on the lead cat's bright yellow and black eyes peering through me. At 20 yards, I fired. Missed. Too close now. This is gonna get wet.
Wesley detached the pistol from the Winslow, let the rifle fall, and slid the snow knife out of the sheath. It was all over but the bleeding.
They're gonna surround us! I hope you're good with that snow knife.
Linnea had a big ol' smile on her face.
You pluck my feathers, you know that? Come on! What do you got, you bastards?
Wesley drop-twisted, aimed the pistol upward, and pressed the trigger. The leopard's claws shredded his collar, sliced his neck as the round tore through the cat's lung, came out through its spine. It fell away. Another ghost cat leapt, only this time it was met in the air by a white wall of fur that smashed the cat, crushed its head. The cat snapped and slashed. Frantic, the leopards stopped their attack, backed away, then suddenly ran off. They looked over their shoulders now and again as they disappeared into the white.
They're gone! I can't believe this. We did it, girl!
Linnea wasn't moving. But for the overheated Winslow hissing in the snow beneath him, it was crazy quiet. Wesley's heart thumped as a musky smell thick as incense pooled in the air.
Now I regret skipping polar bear survival class at the academy.
They rocked from leg to leg. He wondered if they'd argue over which one would dine on him first. Panic welled inside Wesley. Adrenaline flushed his veins and pumped his lungs. He couldn't stand it anymore. Wes bolted. He stumbled face first, lost a glove. When he rolled away to breathe, the big one pinned his snow knife. He choked, tugged at his arm to get away.
Spit! The snow burns.
The bear released its grip slightly, as if toying with him. That's when Wes lost it.
What are you waiting for?
It rushed him. Wes's ears rang. When it sniffed his hand, he flinched. They stared at each other for a thick, dense minute. The bear looked to the girl, sniffed at her motionless body. She moaned. Then the old bear looked back at Wes.
Oh man, make it quick.
Oddly, the bear lumbered away. Their heads down, the rest of the bears prodded him toward the girl. When next to her, they backed off. If Wes stepped away, again they would approach.
They want me to help her.
The old bear started up the slope while the others waited for Wes to move. He sheathed the snow knife, grabbed his glove, and then hoisted his new friend over his shoulder. When he settled her, the bears fell in line behind him.
They don't intend to just let me go. Now what?
30th July. The band of bears trekked over a number of ridges before Wesley needed a break. He carried the snow dog to one of the bears, laid her across its broad back. They even waited for him to rest, like they knew he was hurt, but impatient to move on. To still his fear, he took note of subtle differences in each bear. A limp, a scar, a mangled ear, coloration, gait. The larger scarred bear looked up at him as if saying, "Come on, keep up."
You don't have to look so grim all the time, you know? You either, lump.
Paw always pawed the air when he wanted attention from Grim. Patch had a spot on his snout. And Jack reminded him of a favorite cat he once had. Miles away, and without the beacon, Braeburn Wilkes was forced to track Oldstyle, looking for any sign, though Solon Kai had enough.
This side scamming from the periscope depth is not working, Wilkes. We're losing time. I must get to the ice.
Meanwhile, deep into the mountains, Wes and his pack were losing light. Another storm blew in violent twists, and he fell backwards into Grim. The old bear had his nose to the wind, irritated about something, had that look of survival in his eye.
That's it! We're done!
Grim snapped at him.
We gotta get off this ridge now, or we're dead. You understand? Stupid polar bear!
Grim punched Wesley's stomach with his snout, slammed him further into the snow, and got in his face. This time, it hurt. The other bears appeared out of the blinding flakes and surrounded them.
What do you want from me?
The bears immediately scooped huge pawfuls, dug for the harder packed snow. They tore open a snow cave faster than Wes could comprehend. When they'd completed the cave, the bears settled down, snuggled against one another, but left Wesley to his own corner. That's when his snow dog friend spoke feebly.
My name... Linnea.
Wesley.
She barely heard his answer. She curled up with lump and paw.
The old man will help you.
What old man?
Pay attention to your elders, Pilot.
Linnea made a gesture with her hand, like a sign or an emblem, then rolled away and fell back to sleep.
Probably a slight concussion. I'll have to wake her every 2 hours or so. She needs rest and medical attention.
July. They set out again at first light.
Late in the day, Athena, patrolling from high up, signaled back to me. She spotted something.
Wesley's story has only just begun.